Think you know the stuff you use every day? Think again. From ketchup that was once medicine to shoes that didn't care about left or right feet, the ordinary objects around you have some seriously weird backstories. Stick around because by the end of this video, your toothbrush, your keyboard, and even your microwave will never look the same again. Let's get right into it. Number 15, the microwave was an accident. You know that magical box that turns leftover lasagna into molten lava in 90 seconds, total accident. In 1945, engineer Percy Spencer was messing around with radar tech and noticed that a candy bar in his pocket had melted. Instead of panicking like a normal person, he was like, interesting, and then deliberately zapped popcorn. Boom, it popped. Thus, the microwave oven was born from sheer chaos and snack-based curiosity. The first ones were huge, cost thousands of dollars, and looked like something that should launch rockets, not reheat soup. Today, we use them to nuke sad frozen meals and forget about coffee we meant to reheat 3 hours ago. Science turning accidents into time-saving appliances since forever. Number 14, the QWERTY keyboard was made to be slower. Okay, buckle up. Your entire life, you've typed on a keyboard that was designed to make you worse at typing. The QWERTY layout wasn't invented for speed. Nope. It was made in the 1870s for early typewriters, clunky metal beasts that jammed if you typed too fast. So the inventor intentionally spaced out the most used letters to slow you down. Yeah, it's like putting the gas pedal in the trunk to avoid speeding tickets. There were even better layouts like Dvorak that grouped common letters together to maximize speed. But by the time those showed up, QWERTY was already baked into every school, office, and underpaid intern's muscle memory. So now, we're all just out here doing digital gymnastics on a system designed to make typing suck slightly more. But hey, at least it builds character, and carpal tunnel. Number 13, scissors are ancient weapons of hair control. You probably have like 3 pairs of scissors in your house, all of them slightly sticky, mysteriously dull, and constantly missing. But did you know scissors are older than the Roman Empire? The earliest known scissors were used in Mesopotamia around 3,000 years ago. They were spring scissors, 2 blades connected by a strip of curved bronze that bounced open after each snip, like a booby-trapped paper cutter. By the time of ancient Rome, scissors started looking more familiar, with pivoted blades and actual handles. Romans used them for everything from grooming to surgery to wait for it, shearing sheep. So basically, a tool for everything sharp related, from your bangs to your battlefield wounds. Fun fact, the word scissors is plural because people thought the 2 blades were separate tools, like pants or glasses. Scissor is technically correct, but it sounds like a Pokemon move. These days, we use scissors to open Amazon boxes and ruin wrapping paper. But once upon a time, they were cutting-edge sorry technology for warriors, barbers, and sheep alike. Number 12, the first refrigerators used sawdust and ice. Today, your fridge quietly hums in the corner, keeping your oat milk and questionable leftovers chilled to perfection. But the first fridges, they were more like fancy insulated boxes stuffed with ice and sawdust. In the 1800s, before electricity took over, people relied on ice boxes, wooden cabinets lined with tin or zinc. Ice would be delivered in giant blocks because Amazon Prime wasn't invented yet, and people would pack their food around it like a very serious snow picnic. The sawdust, it helped keep the ice cold longer, and if you think that sounds sketchy, just know that food safety back then meant hope this doesn't kill us. Of course, the actual first attempts at refrigeration were even more cursed. One inventor tried using sulfuric acid, another used compressed ether gas, which, fun fact, is extremely flammable. Imagine trying to cool a roast chicken with a device that might explode if you sneeze too hard. It wasn't until the 1920s and 30s that electric refrigerators became common in homes, and now we get annoyed when our fridge beeps because the door's open for 4.2 seconds. Basically, people used to fight physics with ice blocks and industrial insulation, and you can't even find room for your oat-based frozen pizza. Number 11, toothpaste included brick dust. Ah yes, oral hygiene, the ancient art of scrubbing your teeth with stuff you now use to build houses. Before the minty fresh tubes we know today, early toothpaste recipes were aggressive. The ancient Egyptians, for example, used a mix of crushed rock salt, pepper, mint, and ox hooves. It was basically salad dressing for your teeth, but with more animal parts. Fast forward to Roman times, and things got grittier. Romans sometimes used ground up bricks and oyster shells to polish their teeth because nothing says smile like scrubbing your molars with literal construction debris. Oh, and they also like to rinse with urine. Yep, human pee. Why? Because it contains ammonia, which is technically a cleansing agent, but also, urine. Roman poets even made fun of people with ultra-white teeth because it usually meant they were mouth peeing. It wasn't until the 1800s that toothpaste started resembling anything remotely safe, and even then, it included chalk, charcoal, and soap. Toothpaste you could technically wash your dishes with. So next time you complain that your whitening toothpaste tastes too minty, just remember your ancestors were gargling ammonia and scraping their gums with brick powder. Number 10, mirrors were once water bowls. Before you could check your reflection in a selfie or cry in a Sephora compact, people were using bowls of still water to examine their face, which is romantic until you realize it's not very helpful when you're trying to pop a zit. The earliest mirrors weren't mirrors at all, they were puddles with a purpose. Later, people upgraded to polished obsidian, bronze, or copper plates. Imagine trying to apply eyeliner with a piece of shiny rock that gives your reflection all the clarity of a potato. Even in ancient Egypt and Greece, mirrors were rare and precious. Owning one meant you were either wealthy or deeply committed to your own face. And actual glass mirrors didn't become common until the 16th century, when Venetian glassmakers figured out how to coat glass with metal. Before that, the average person saw themselves maybe a few times a year, usually by accident, or when someone told them their eyebrow situation was concerning. So next time you're adjusting your ring light for that perfect mirror selfie, remember your ancestors were squinting at pond ripples and hoping for the best. Number 9, chocolate was a spicy soup. Modern chocolate is sweet, creamy, and basically therapy in bar form, but the original version, it tasted like someone dropped a chili pepper into mud and decided that was fine. Ancient Mesoamericans like the Maya and Aztecs drank chocolate as a bitter, spicy liquid, no sugar, no milk, just ground cacao beans mixed with water, chili, and maybe a little cornmeal if they were feeling extra wild. Think hot chocolate, but made by a warrior who thinks dessert is weakness. They didn't just sip it casually, either. This stuff was sacred, reserved for royalty, ceremonies, and energetic death cults. The Aztecs believed cacao was a divine gift from Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent god who apparently wanted everyone hyped up on jittery caffeine sludge. And cacao beans, literal currency. You could buy a turkey with 100 beans or a prostitute for 8, which says a lot about the economy and priorities of the time. It wasn't until the Spanish showed up and added sugar that chocolate became the sweet treat we know today. So yes, colonialism brought atrocities but also dessert. Still, the next time someone serves you artisan dark chocolate with a chili kick, just know you're tasting the reboot of an ancient spicy soup for gods. Number 8, eyeglasses were once a monastic flex. You'd think glasses would be an obvious I can see now tool, but in the 13th century, they were status symbols, especially among monks. Back then, reading was for elite nerds. If you needed glasses, it meant you were doing the holy work of squinting at text all day. Wearing spectacles was like flaunting a mental gym membership. Oh, these I've just been copying scripture for 12 hours straight. You wouldn't understand. And early glasses weren't even worn, they were handheld, like monocles for both eyes, or perched awkwardly on your nose without earpieces. So half your effort went into not dropping them while you deciphered Latin. Eventually, glasses made their way to the public. But even then, there were haters. Some folks believed poor eyesight was divine punishment for intellectual arrogance. Apparently, God didn't want you reading that much. Too bad. Gutenberg. Now we've got blue light glasses, fashion frames, and LASIK surgery. But once upon a time, being able to read clearly made you an ecclesiastical rock star. Number 7, vacuum cleaners were horse-drawn. You might hate vacuuming now, but at least your cleaning device doesn't block traffic. In the early 1900s, before vacuums became small enough to store next to your Sadness and Swiffer pads, they were so huge they had to be pulled around by horses. Yep, giant wheeled monstrosities that parked outside buildings while hoses were snaked in through the windows like some industrial parasite. These behemoths didn't even suck well. They had the suction power of a bored sloth, ran on gas, and made more noise than a toddler with a pot collection. And hiring one wasn't cheap. Vacuuming your carpets was basically a flex. Rich people would throw vacuum parties to show off their fresh cleaned rugs because nothing says luxury like industrial strength dust removal. Fast forward to today, and we've got robot vacuums that map your house like tiny floor Roombas with zero social skills. They clean quietly while silently judging your furniture placement. We've come a long way from needing livestock to clean cereal off a rug. Number 6. Forks were considered scandalous. Let's say you're invited to a royal dinner in 11th century Europe. You show up, looking fancy, pull out a shiny metal fork, and suddenly everyone's clutching their pearls like you just slapped the Pope. Because back then, using a fork was not classy, it was heresy. Forks were seen as unnecessary, effeminate, or worse, unholy. Why? Because God gave you fingers, and by using a fork, you were implying his design wasn't good enough. That's right, cutlery blasphemy. When a Byzantine princess brought forks to Venice as part of her dowry, people lost their medieval minds. Church leaders called her decadent. When she died young, it was widely rumored to be divine punishment for using a utensil. It took several more centuries of awkward sauce-covered fingers before the fork finally earned respect. So the next time you twirl your spaghetti without judgment, just know that you're partaking in a once controversial rebellion against greasy knuckles. Basically, eating pasta used to be a moral crisis. Today it's just lunch. Number 5, umbrellas were socially unacceptable for men. Rain. It's cold. It's wet. It ruins your hair, and yet, back in 18th century England, if you were a man and you used an umbrella, instant ridicule. Umbrellas were seen as effeminate, French, and suspiciously dry. Real men, apparently, just let the rain smack them in the face like nature's rejection letter. Enter Jonas Hanway. This guy strutted through the streets of London using an umbrella on purpose. People hated him for it. Cab drivers hurled insults because umbrellas meant people didn't need to hail rides. Pedestrians mocked him for looking like a dainty dandy with a portable roof. But Hanway didn't care. He kept on umbrellaing until it became normal. A soggy hero, a damp legend. The guy literally got rained on so future men could stay dry without public shame. So the next time you whip out that collapsible canopy to shield yourself from drizzle, whisper a silent thank you to Jonas Hanway, the man who died dry so you could live dry. Number 4, ketchup was once medicine. You, right now, squeezing a fat glob of ketchup onto your fries like it's red liquid joy, yeah. Fun fact, people used to think that stuff could cure diarrhea. Back in the 1830s, a guy named Dr. John Cook Bennett, who was not, I repeat, not a ketchup sommelier, claimed that tomatoes had medicinal properties. So naturally, he turned them into pills and called it tomato extract. Because what says healing better than dehydrated marinara capsules? Eventually, other people jumped on the ketchup as medicine hype train. They sold it in glass bottles, marketed it as a cure-all for indigestion, jaundice, and other things that are probably not fixable with a condiment. Meanwhile, Heinz, yes, that Heinz came in decades later and was like, cool idea, guys, but what if we just made it tasty instead of pretending it's Tylenol? So next time you're dunking your burger into some thick, tangy ketchup, just remember you're eating a former health supplement. Congratulations, you're basically doing ancient self-care. Side note, imagine going to a 19th century pharmacy with a stomachache and the pharmacist just hands you a hot dog topping. Here, eat this, it's medicine. Number 3, shoes were once identical. Left foot, right foot, whatever, just shove it in. Before the 19th century, shoes were made with all the ergonomic grace of a bread loaf. No left, no right. Just 2 sad leather clams hoping your feet would figure it out. They were called straights because apparently even shoes needed a weird phase before finding themselves. People would just buy 2 identical shoes and wear them down until they kinda molded to each foot. Eventually, hopefully, and if your feet were wildly different sizes, too bad, welcome to Blister City. It wasn't until the early 1800s that a few enterprising shoemakers in Philadelphia were like, hey, maybe the human body isn't symmetrical everywhere, and so the left-right shoe combo was born revolutionary. But think about it. For thousands of years, humanity invented fire, pyramids, calculus, but forgot that feet curve in opposite directions. We literally cracked the code of the stars before we figured out arches. Basically, your ancestors were hobbling around in identical foot prisons, and now we complain if the arch support isn't memory foam. Number 2, alarm clocks used to be people. You ever hit snooze 5 times, crawl out of bed at noon, and still feel like society expects too much from you? Well, back in the day, society literally hired people to wake you up. They were called knocker-uppers, which sounds like either a Victorian job or an unfortunate pregnancy euphemism, and their whole gig was to walk around towns with long sticks or pea shooters and tap on people's windows until they woke up. That's right, human alarm clocks, real, paid adults with poking devices and no apparent fear of retaliation from groggy fiver, brick throwers. This was a legit job in the UK and Ireland well into the 20th century. Even after alarm clocks were invented, people just didn't trust them yet. Because clearly, you'd rather rely on Maureen down the street with her window tapping cane than this newfangled ticking time bomb with bells on top. And guess what? The knocker-uppers didn't always stop once they knocked. Some stood outside watching until they were sure you were up. Imagine that. You're stretching in bed and Margaret's creepy silhouette is just there, peering, judging. Anyway, your phone's snooze button might suck, but at least it doesn't breathe. Number 1, toilet paper was a stick. Picture this, you've just done your business. You reach over and instead of a nice, soft roll of quilted 2-ply, you grab a stick, a literal stick. Congratulations, you're now experiencing the ancient Chinese version of a bathroom break. Yep, long before toilet paper became the universally accepted post-poop solution, people in 6th century China used something called a shit stick. That's not slang. That's the actual term used in ancient texts. It was a thin wooden spatula, kept near public toilets and rinsed off between uses which, frankly, raises more questions than it answers. And that wasn't even the worst method. Other global options included moss, corncobs, seashells, and in the case of Roman public bathrooms, a communal sponge on a stick. That everyone shared, like a medieval toothbrush for your butt. Toilet paper itself didn't go mainstream until the late 1800s, and even then, early versions had splinters. Imagine trusting a product with actual wood chips near your most sensitive areas. Bold move. So, next time you see that ultra-soft roll dangling in your modern bathroom, thank your lucky charm it's not a re-washed communal sponge named Greg. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.